San Jose did want me back, but they had traded for, in the summer, they had traded for Brent Burns. So they didn't need me anymore. So they weren't going to resign me. So then I was going to free agency. And so then July 2nd hit, and Detroit called. I obviously wasn't first on their list, but whoever they were looking for didn't pan out on the first. So they put an offer for 2-year deal, X amount of money. And I had no other offers anyway, but I was happy. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, I'll go play in Detroit. So move here in probably, I guess, August, and we go to camp, and Mike Babcock had me paired up with Lidstrom. So, and obviously Detroit has lots of legends of the game too. We had probably, at that time, at least 4 guys who had won 4 Stanley Cups, and a number of other guys who had won multiple Stanley Cups. Really, Hall of Famers. And so you walk in the locker room. It's kind of like it's a very cool feeling. You walk in there just to be on the same team. And then for the first day of camp, I look at the roster, and he's got me paired up with Lidstrom. I'm like, this is going to be fun. Like, wow. Actually, probably what's going on in my mind is like, don't screw this up. I had kind of a bit of a history of, shooting myself in the foot. So I'm like, don't screw this up, And so we got paired together, and I'm sure anybody can play with Lidstrom. He's going to make anyone better, but we did sync very well, and we did camp together, and then we played the season together, and we played the entire season together. I missed, I think, 5 games. I got a broken face, and he missed a couple games. So we probably maybe 72 or so games we played together, and we were tearing it up. A couple weeks ago in the season, I was leading the league in plus minus. He was right behind me, and we were, every shift we're playing against Crosby, Ovechkin, these guys, and shutting them down. And not only are we shutting them down, we're scoring on them, right? So we're having a tremendous year. And for whatever, I probably never really know what happened, but Mike Babcock didn't like me. I think it was likely the fact that I like to party and have a lot of fun. And so towards the end of the season, there was a little bit of friction there. And at the end of the year, so we had traded for a guy at the deadline to bolster our D for the playoffs. And we had a bunch of injuries all throughout the year, and then a couple weeks to go, finally all our D were healthy, but now we have 1 extra, right? So we had a meeting with the D, and he said, it's like, okay, so the one guy who was like one of our top D had been out for a couple months, so he needed to get some reps in before the postseason to get in shape. So we had a meeting, and Babcock said, we're going to rotate guys out. So I was about probably 4th on the totem pole. There was Lidstrom, obviously, Cronwall. Erickson was the guy who was hurt, who needed to play, and then Brad Stewart. And so I was the next guy. So we had a bunch of guys obviously under me. So we'd say one guy out, then another game, the next guy another game, and then the next guy another game. Then it was my turn to sit out. So I think there might have only been 3 or 4 games left in the season. So I sat out. And then the next game I got back in, I was no longer paired up with Nick, which was odd because we played the whole season together and we did really well. And anyway, so now we're all of a sudden not playing together, which was clearly a sign, or Babcock was sticking it to me, which, but not only that, he was actually harming the team too, because we were the best D pair, we were doing well, and now you're right before playoffs, you're gonna just throw that all away. Anyway, we start playoffs, and again, we weren't playing together for the start of playoffs. So Nashville, yeah. So we'd start the game. first 2 periods we wouldn't play together, and then if we'd be losing by a goal or whatever, then the third period we need to generate something. So then he'd pair us together to try to quickly make something up, and we came up short. But so anyway, I still have one more year in the deal, but now we have labor disagreement the next year. So the players were locked out. Nick decided to retire, and I moved here in August. My kids were in school at the time, so I came back. There's maybe 7 or 8 of us older players who came here like for the start of the season, the timing, and we just practice and wait until the new collective bargaining agreement was struck. So I was skating actually in Troy. It's only a couple minutes down the road here. And after, this was I think about December now, I came off the ice and there was a bunch of local reporters that would always hang out and try to get some clips from us. And I came off the ice and these reporters, I think there's 3 of them, they said, "Hey, did you hear that Gary Bettman wants to take a 2-week break in negotiations with the union?" And I thought about it and I said, "Really?" I said, "Honestly, I think he's an idiot." And I said one more sentence, got showered up, went to my truck, sat in my truck for about 5 minutes. I'm like, you know what, that's probably going to be a pretty big story. So I went back into the rink to talk to the reporters. They were the local reporters that I know. And I said, "Hey, do you guys mind not printing that?" And the one lady, she's like, "Well, you said it." I'm like, "No, I know I said it. I'm not denying that." And I said, "I just don't want to cause any friction between, the union and the players and stuff." Anyways, I didn't even know what Twitter was at the time, but she said, "I already tweeted it out." So I didn't really care. I did think that at the time, and I said it, so I'm like, all right. So I went home. About a 20-minute drive home, I open my laptop when I get home, and I Google Ian White, Gary Bettman, and there was already about 18 headlines that says, "Ian White calls Bettman an idiot." I was like, that's probably not going to go over too well. So sure enough, get called into the management's, Ken Holland's office, and they weren't too happy, obviously. And I mean, should I have said it? Should I not? But anyways, so now I've got Gary Bettman upset at me, and owners upset at me, management not too happy with me, and Mike Babcock, the coach, doesn't like me. So finally, I think it was February 1st or 2nd, the season starts. And now it's contract year. We've only got maybe 2 months of the season, or 3 months, whatever it ended up being, for me to prove my case to get a contract. So I was gung-ho, fired up, ready to play. First game, I got out there, had a really good game, got an assist. Second game, I scored a really nice goal, right? I'm like, man, this is going to be good. It'll be a good year. And then the third game, I was back checking, and the guy, the forward, had a step on me. And so I dove kind of right around the hash marks to try to poke check him, and plowed into Jimmy Howard. And I took his skate right across my knee, like the front of his skate just kind of stabbed me in the knee and just cut me really bad. And so now I sat out. I was out for, I think it was 3 weeks. I couldn't skate. So 3 weeks out of a 8-week season or something. Anyway, after that, then I got into, I got obviously really depressed the whole time. I went to the hospital. Or when that happened, I went to the hospital, and I used to drink. I was an alcoholic. I drank a lot. I'd use a lot of drugs. I went to the hospital. They gave me fentanyl, and as soon as I got that fentanyl, it was just like, I mean, it was like euphoria. It makes all your pain go away. Everything was just like, you don't care about anything. And I ended up getting addicted to fentanyl.
And this is for the knee injury.
Yeah. 3 weeks I couldn't play. And then finally, once my knee was good enough to play, I started practicing and stuff. But by this time, Babcock, I don't know if he had no plans to put me back in. And I kind of I wasn't in a good headspace at the time either. I mean, I wanted to play, but so he kept scratching me, and I kept drinking and using drugs, and things just kind of. It was 10 o'clock, or it was a game day at home. I lived in Birmingham, it takes about 45 minutes to get down to the rink. And so it was game day. We had morning skate, and I woke up. My alarm went off. I woke up probably 8 o'clock, and I had to be on the road by about 8:30. And so every morning I wake up groggy, hungover, and once you're on fentanyl too, you're like super groggy. And so I push myself up on the bed like this, and I turn my alarm off. So I'm like sitting against my headboard. I'm like, okay, I'm awake, like wait till the cobwebs shake off, and I'll go to the rink. And then the next thing I know, I look at my phone, it was like 11 o'clock. And so morning skates at 10:30, so I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm like, I missed practice. And of all the years that I've played, I never once saw a person miss a practice. Like, I've seen guys, you rarely see people even late, let alone no show. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So I called the rink. There's no point, because like it says, a 45-minute drive. There's no point in even going. Call the rink. Anyways, so I missed a practice. Totally.
And when you call, who did you talk to?
I just called the trainer, equipment guy. But I'm like, is there any point in coming? And he's like, no. So anyways, that was a real bad one. And then, so how it works too with addiction, and alongside, maybe not playing and whatnot, you get down, and then you just keep drinking and doing more to try to feel happy. And we were in Calgary, so I'm still scratched all the time, and still hoping to get back in the lineup, obviously. And I mean, you never know where the coach's mindset is, or the day that you get back in, right? But you got to stay ready. So we're in Edmonton or Calgary, and I've got one of my best friends lives there. So the day we get in the day before the game, 3 o'clock or something. So me and my buddy, we go out, or meet up with my friend, and we we party. We're up till about, I don't know, 4 or 5, and I ended up, because we were skating in the morning. I think on the road you skate at 11:30, and so I wanted to get to sleep. It was probably 5 or 6 in the morning, so I took a bunch of sleeping pills to try to fall asleep, and I guess I took too many, and I missed practice again, to the point where the trainers called the hotel to send security into my room to see like if I was alive. And I guess the story I heard anyway is the security guard was pulling up check for a pulse. He was like pulling on my leg, trying to wake me up, and he couldn't wake me up. And so he just told our medical guys, like, yeah, he's awake, but he's unresponsive. So now missed the second practice totally. So now my mindset at the time, I guess, you still think you might get in, but I'm sure they had written me off at that point. So finished the season up there, go back home in summer, and didn't get any offers. I just kept so now I probably was always an alcoholic since I started drinking, like when I was, 16, 17. Like in hindsight, like we would drink every day. And, whether it was smoking marijuana or doing hard drugs, there's always some sort of chemical in your body. And I always had access to it, and I always had money to supply it. So you get, a problem too was that I was actually very successful in life. So it just became a way of life. And even the last full year I played in Detroit, I tried 3 times I'm like, you know what, try playing a game where you didn't drink the night before, like, so you're not hungover. So 3 times I tried. I'm like, hey, and the first time I tried that, the next game was I played absolutely terrible, and in my mind I'm like, well, it can't be. Obviously, alcohol is not a performance-enhancing substance. At that time, I didn't realize, you know, you got to take a couple weeks off of drinking or using drugs to start feeling good again, sometimes even longer. But I took, I'm like, okay, well, I'll try it again, you know. So I did the second game. I didn't drink the night before the game. I played terrible. And now it was kind of really like screwing with your mind, like, man, like it can't be that I have to drink to play good. So I'm like, I'll try one more time. But obviously your career's on the line. You can't just not play good. You're not going to play at all, right? So the third game we were playing in Chicago. I didn't go out the night before, and I was on the ice. Chicago has a crazy environment there. One of the best places to play. I'm on the power play. I'm on the blue line. I'm dragging the puck across the line backwards, and I just like heel pick and like fall down. And I don't know if it was it might have been Patrick Kane. Picked up the puck, went down, scored, and I'm just like. And I'm not saying that wouldn't have happened if I was drinking the night before, but anyway, I played a bad game again. So now I'm like, you know what, I can't risk it anymore. I just have to keep drinking and worry about anything else later. So, but anyway, then fast forward to where I just left off, the summer after my last season in Detroit here, hoping to get a contract somewhere. And by this time, I would imagine that I have a reputation throughout the league of being a party animal and maybe has substance abuse issues. And likely that's the reason I kept getting traded too, looking back on it. So now I'm really depressed and have no prospects.
Hey, if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button. We do a new podcast every single Sunday during the season called Sling the Biscuit. It is a non-mainstream hockey podcast, so we talk about my hockey career, the minor pros, Spain, the Fed, you name it, all the stuff that you won't hear in the mainstream news.
Music,
Pop culture.
politics, a little bit.
Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you soon.